Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of Tech Query Build Advice, where I'll be going over my thoughts on your guys' builds. This user on r/buildapc wanted a little bit of feedback on how their first build looks. They found that their old quote-unquote Frankenstein workhorse just isn't doing it for me anymore, and they wanted to look for a build that would be able to future-proof themselves a little bit and be able to hit around 60 FPS in pretty much everything for around the next 5 to 10 years. The build that they chose includes an i7-11700K for their CPU, with a Noctua NH-D15 for their cooler, an Asus ROG Strix Z590A Gaming Wi-Fi ATX motherboard, 2 sticks of 32GB of G.Skill Trident C Royal with 4000 megatransfers with a cast latency of CL18. With their GPU, they've gone with a Gigabyte GeForce RTX 3080 12GB. For their case, they've gone ahead with the NZXT H710i ATX mid-tower case. Their power supply, a Corsair RM850W 80 plus gold fully modular ATX power supply with their Windows 10 installation. Now, the thing to note about future-proofing any kind of PC build is it's actually very difficult to try to make a build that will definitively last you for the next 5 years or more, and it can be pretty much impossible to reach up to 10 years as this user asked, unless you plan on exclusively playing esports titles only like CSGO or Valorant, or maybe even Rocket League, which are not as heavy on components. But this definitely does not seem to be the case here with this user. So we can go ahead and actually refer to this video from Jay's 2 cents that provides some nice insight into what differences 10 years of new hardware can bring. As for the individual components, taking a look at our CPU, the i7-11700K, if this user were to really want to extend the lifespan of their build, I would personally highly recommend going with the Intel 12th gen, and more specifically the Intel Core i7-12700K, which provides a significant performance uplift over its 11700K counterpart. Now, as a quick reminder, the i7-11700K comes with 8 cores and 16 threads, while the i7-12700K comes with 12 cores and 20 threads. How that works out is the 12700K comes with 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. Now, remember that those performance cores each come with 2 threads each, while the efficiency cores come with only 1. Which is how we come out to 20. So those extra cores and threads should definitely come in handy when future generations of games start to use more cores and more threads a bit more heavily. In fact, the performance uplift over the 11700K is so vast that you'll find in a lot of reviews for the 12700K, such as this Gamers Nexus video, you'll find that most reviews actually neglect to compare the 12700K to the 11700K and instead compare the 12700K to the i9-12900K simply to show how good of a deal the 12700K can be. As for this user's CPU cooler, if they don't mind a bit more spicier colors, they could actually go with the non-black version, Noctua NH-D15, which is found to perform just as well as the Noctua NH-D15 black version and costs about $10 less. This LTT review of the Chromex Black line of Noctua coolers also goes to show how there's very little difference between the standard Noctua coolers and their black counterpart. If this user also does not mind going with another brand besides Noctua, the Be Quiet Dark Rock Pro 4 may provide a bit of more difficulty in terms of installation, as Noctua includes their very famous, well-known SecuFirm mounting system. However, the Be Quiet Dark Rock Pro 4 also provides very similar levels of performance at possibly even lower noise levels for around $20 less. Now, if this user still has their heart set on going with 11th gen Intel, another great option for their motherboard besides the ASUS ROG Strix Z590 gaming Wi-Fi is the ASUS TUF Gaming Z590 Plus Wi-Fi, a full-size SATX motherboard that can help them save a further $20 while maintaining proper VRM temperatures and CPU power levels, as can be seen with this video from Hardware Unboxed. However, if this user plans on switching to 12th gen, a great cheap alternative that I've seen all around the internet is the MSI Pro Z690A, which is a great option for 12th gen Z690 owners that only comes in at $185. Now, this user could definitely save a buck by going with the DDR4 version of this motherboard. However, as this user seems to be trying to future-proof as much as possible, a great alternative could be going with the DDR5 version of this motherboard. In the near future, hopefully, DDR5 prices will go down and the user would be able to upgrade to more mature, much faster kits of DDR5 memory. In any case, this motherboard comes with one USB Type-C Gen 2x2 port in the rear, one USB Type-A port that's Gen 2, and two USB Type-A ports that operate at Gen 1 speeds. It also supports a total of 4 additional USB 2.0 ports in the rear. In terms of front I/O, this motherboard supports one USB Type-C port operating at Gen 2 speeds, 4 additional USB Type-A ports operating at Gen 1 speeds, and 4 more USB 2.0 ports at the front. For troubleshooting, this motherboard also includes a DisplayPort and HDMI port as well. We also get 4 M.2 slots, which is amazing, 6 SATA ports, 3 PCIe by 16 slots, and 1 more PCIe by 1 slot. Now, as long as this user plans on gaming exclusively, even a nice quality kit of 32GB of memory should last them quite a long ways. If they still plan on going with DDR4, if this user still chooses to go with DDR4, these two 16GB kits from G-Skill that operate at 3200 MHz at a latency of CL16 should last them a long ways, which is less than a third of the current price of the RAM that they've selected. Although this kit of RAM definitely lacks some of the RGB and in-your-face blinginess that the Trident Z Royal kits provide, they'll definitely be almost as stable and will provide very close, if not the same level of performance. And I cannot reiterate enough, this kit of memory is less than a third of the current kit that has been selected. Now, storage was a bit of an interesting aspect with this user's build. This user actually included no storage anywhere in their PC part picker list. Looking back at some of their replies to other comments, it looks like they planned on using an older SSD/HDD combo. Now, judging by the fact that they still seem to be running an SSD/hard drive combo, we can probably assume that this SSD either operates at lower speeds or runs off the SATA interface, which may not be ideal for this user's quote-unquote future-proofing. If they really want to future-proof themselves, they may choose to go with a PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSD, something like the Sabrent Rocket 4.0, the Western Digital Black SN850, or the Crucial P5 Plus, which are all great value options. And these generations of drives will have the fast read and write speeds that will be necessary for all the future applications that are sure to have large amounts of storage required. New technologies such as Microsoft's new Direct Storage API will definitely come in handy when they start using the fast read and write speeds of the PCIe Gen 4 interface, which would not be possible with other storage options like SATA SSDs. AMD's other technologies, such as AMD's new Smart Access Storage, or SAS, may also prove useful for PCIe Gen 4 SSD owners, as the GPU would be able to fully utilize the bandwidth of the SSD and essentially just stream in assets. Now, with the savings that we've earned ourselves from the other components, we could dump a little bit more into our GPU, which would definitely provide our build with a year of extra life or so, rather than going with the GeForce RTX 3080 12GB, which, as shown by these reviews, provides very minimal incremental improvements over the RTX 3080 10GB version, a cheaper RTX 3080 Ti, or even a Radeon RX 6900 XT from Team Red from any reputable AIB that they could find might be a better option. Although either card seems to be going for around $100 more than the RTX 3080 12GB, money that we've saved from either the RAM or the motherboard or even the CPU might definitely come in handy here. And after all, if you're gaming, you should be looking to spend most of your budget in your GPU. Any additional amounts of money that you pour into other components might not give you the performance improvements that you might be looking for, whereas even $100 more in your video card to go into the extra tier above is definitely going to net you some performance gains. As for our case, our user has chosen the NZXT H710i, which, as shown by this Gamers Nexus video, is shown to be a real hot box, especially with these modern components that can draw insane amounts of power and, as a result, release a large amount of heat. If this user really wants to stick with the style of NZXT cases, some great options from NZXT that still provide a lot of great airflow include the H510 Flow, which actually comes in at $90 less and includes a lot of vents at the front and at the top for a lot of nice airflow. Another option is the H7 Flow, which is a little bit more expensive than the H510 Flow at $130, but also includes more ventilation than the H710i. If this user also doesn't mind going with another brand, the Corsair 4000D is also a very popular case that is only around $90 with great airflow. Now, unfortunately, this Corsair case only comes with two 120mm fans, which may be a little bit lacking with these higher end components. I would strongly recommend picking up a cheap pack of fans, such as this pack of 5 120mm fans from Arctic. It only comes in at around $29 and should definitely help to fill out the rest of the fans that the Corsair 4000D is missing. With those extra fans, this case is definitely going to be quite breezy. And that pretty much wraps it up for this user's build. Now, again, another quick reminder that future-proofing in the rapidly evolving world of PC hardware may not always be the most feasible way of going about with planning out your first build. However, these powerful components, if they do choose to go with an i7-12700K, 32GB of DDR4 memory, and an RTX 3080 Ti or 6900 XT, is definitely bound to last them for many, many, many years. I would almost hesitate to even guarantee 5 years at the minimum. They may even be able to stretch it to maybe even 7 years if they keep their expectations in check. This may become an issue if this user plans on gaming at 4K all the time with features such as ray tracing turned on, but of course if they choose to, turn down the settings, keep their resolution at 1440p, this user is bound to have a great time for many years to come. And that just about wraps it up for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. You might also enjoy some of my other upcoming episodes where I'll be covering other build advice and similar questions like the ones in this video, so be sure to get subscribed for that. See you all in the next one.